According to my therapist, I have some extreme trouble verbalizing my emotions. Well, I can't say that I'm surprised. This is Across the Table, the podcast of Hannibal the Magician. Here I am once more, seated at the table, microphone in front of me, small beverage resting by my right hand, and a head full of words that I may or may not say. Some controversial things that a lot of you might not agree with, and hopefully maybe something you'll find intriguing or at least thought-provoking. Hi, it's Hannibal. I am in day 23 of isolation, of quarantine, hiding from the dread COVID-19. What can I tell you? It's intensely lonely sometimes. It's intensely gratifying sometimes. I love my space. I love the little space that I live in, and a lot of it cinches into my ongoing, lifelong philosophy of avoiding fame. Could I be in a, quote, better place? Could I be in a safer place? Maybe, probably. Could I still be surrounded by friends and so-called friends and lots of people? Maybe also, but would I be better off? Would I be worse off? Would, and long lines of question marks. I don't know. Really today, I wanted to examine the things that I have been noticing and some things that changed an attitude of my own. It is currently Monday, April the 6th, 2020. I found myself doing some very distasteful things at the end of last week. I watched the news to keep up on current events, to see what progress is being made, to see if people that I know and care about have contracted the disease, to see if people that I don't know very well and in what numbers are suffering, and if there's anything that presents itself as a way for me to be of any kind of help. My way of helping, my way of being vital or crucial or even interesting in the world is to perform. I have been labeled as an attention seeker. I have been labeled a narcissist because of my need for that attention that I get, that specific kind of attention that I get on stage. For putting my heart out there far too publicly. I have been critiqued for loving too hard, for loving too widely, for presenting my feelings, no matter what they are, in a very public forum. And after much thought and consideration in those days, I thought to myself, so be it. This is who I am, and there's only one person like me, and there's only one opportunity, one sliver in the vast stretch of time that I get to present who I really am and be who I really am. Not trying, not going out of my way to make things unpleasant for someone else, not trying to hurt anyone, certainly not on purpose. Now, I will admit to many times in my life being so self-centered, being so self-focused, being so looking at the road underneath my feet and the sky above me that I have inadvertently hurt people that really cared about me. And it is unfortunate, and I paid the price for that, and I suffered because of it, and I hurt because of it, the people that I hurt. But there's nothing I can do other than apologize and be sincere in living the life that I live. I did not go out of my way to hurt anyone. I did quite the opposite. I have done my best to uplift and inspire as many hearts and souls as I possibly can. And I have succeeded to some extent, and I have failed to some great extent, and that's life, right? A long time ago, I got a little bit of fame. I have a little bit of fame. There's a certain circle. There are certain circles of people who just know who I am because of what I do, because of some of the things I say, and because of some of the art that I create. When I got that little bit of fame, it caused the kind of pain in my life of myself and the people that are around me, my family, my loved ones, caused them pain in a certain way. Lack of privacy, lack of anonymity, which is it's you don't think about it until suddenly you don't have it anymore. And so I made a very conscious decision in those times to swear off as much fame as I possibly could, and I wondered, could I be not famous and still live a comfortable life, presenting art as my primary source of income, and searching my own soul as far as how much of what I do is simply to make money. And so I experimented like I do everything else. I put it forward that the art I was going to be making was going to be uncompromisingly me striving for a good emotional response from my audience, but not limiting it simply to humor, but speaking truth in the art that I put forth. If I'm going to show you my heart, I'm going to show it to you raw and unfiltered. And the scary part of that was, what if they don't like it? What if they don't pay for it? What if they decide you're not worth listening to, and the money dries up and things go that way? And quite frankly, at the time, I was like, well, then so be it, and another way will present itself. I'm simply going to have faith. Call it blind faith, but faith in the universe that I was created in to be on my side. And of course, you make plans to take care of your family, and you make plans for the unexpected, but that only goes so far. You can only plan so far for things that you can't expect. Hence the pandemic we're in the midst of right now. I have put money away, and I'm comfortable for a little while. If it goes beyond too terribly much longer, it's going to become distinctly uncomfortable living my life. I don't have an outlet to perform the art that I perform. And yes, I hear some of you thinking, well, what about doing online performances? What about things like FaceTime and Zoom and performing shows there? And I've looked at that very, very carefully, and I've looked at monetizing that kind of short-term income, and it is not right for me. It's not the right thing to do for me. My art hinges itself on the immediate, intimate reactions of the audience that I put myself in front of, whether that is on stage or across a table or simply standing and talking. I simply have to wait it out and be careful of my resources and put forth things like this, put focus and tune my art into putting pens on papers and putting voices into magical boxes that will take it out to a couple of dozen of you who want to listen to what I have to say. I didn't pursue fame because it seemed to me that fame was a trap, that fame was a soul-destroying entity that, while it could be used, and some people, some very, very fine people have used it as a tool for good, I recognize in myself the capacity that I lack. If I had fame, I would misuse it. I would do my very best to stand on the correct soapboxes. I would strive my very best to use whatever fame that I was gifted or granted to to uplift and inspire and make other people's lives better and improve the world I'm living in, and hopefully leave the world that I'm living in a bit better than when I found it. But I can do those things without fame. I can change the world. You can change the world simply by expressing yourself and using your gift in front of a handful of people, in front of a couple of people, in front of one person. Altering the course of someone's life, of one person's life for the positive, changes the entire world, changes all of the future, changes everything that comes beyond this. I hold on to that as fact and this is not me bragging. This is not me holding a mirror up of things that I have done, but the people who have confided in me that somehow, some way, the words that I say, the routines that I put together, the work of my hands has saved their lives in a very literal sense, that they were contemplating suicide or self-harm, and that somehow what I did, what I presented, prevented them from doing so. So I'm grateful for that level of people listening and people watching. Extremely grateful. I do card tricks. I weave stories. I have a gift for it, and I have a knack for it, and I'm doing my very dev level best in everything that I put forward to do it for good, or what I perceive as good. I have seen great works done by people who could not have done them without the fame they have. But I strongly believe in the power of the individual to step up, change their world, make a positive difference and influence on the things they perceive and the way they are around them. Right now, numerous people, dozens of people, can potentially be saved lives by you and I staying home, by being a little bored for a little while, for putting words on paper, for playing games with friends across the internet, for reaching out, for taking the time to learn a new skill. But solitude, you can look at it as you have been quarantined, you have been locked in, you have been pushed down, or you can take the same situation and look at it as, here's an opportunity that I have for some real, true, singular, solitary introspection. And how will I use that time? How will I use the gift of the time that I have been given? And if you can put away the worries of income, if you can put away the worries for now of getting by and simply live for this moment and for this day, it can pay off in great benefits. Now, straight up, I'm going to tell you, the words that I just said and the advice that I just gave, I find extremely difficult to do for myself. Hell, I find it hard to love myself. I find it hard to look at the arrogance and the cheek that I have put forward in my life, the uncaring, unthoughtful moves that have caused pain to other people, not on purpose, but simply because I wasn't paying as close of attention as I could have. So I find myself here. Once upon a time, not terribly many years ago, I was making a living doing card tricks, renting a house that comfortably housed 6 people, myself, my former wife, and our 4 children. Kept them well fed, kept them entertained, kept them schooled, and they grew up to become fantastic human beings, off pursuing their own dreams and using their own gifts in very substantial, unique, and amazing ways. And from that, because of various circumstances, some out of my control, and some that I reacted to extremely poorly, I find myself living, oddly enough, paying about the same amount of rent, living in a 550 square foot studio apartment. It's tiny. It has a nice kitchen. I have been striving and relearning how to cook for myself, to make new things, to stretch out in that direction as well. And I could look at that as a failure on my part, but I am choosing to look at my mistakes and make up my mind to strive to do better in the future, and at the same time recognize that this is not a punishment, but yet another gift, an opportunity to live simpler, to take care of the things that I need to take care of, to finally turn and face the responsibilities that I do have, that for a long time I couldn't, mentally, emotionally, physically couldn't fulfill, and take some of those back on, and take care of the things that I need to take care of. Still find it difficult to love or be kind to myself. But I have art, and I have stories, and I have love, all over the place, all around me. It comes at me unexpectedly, and usually when I need it the most. Last week, I found myself shouting at my television. I watch the news and I try to keep up on what's going on with the pandemic and what's what's being made as far as progress and where we're at. And I am, like at least some of you who listen are, very highly frustrated with the leadership of the country. Notably, a few loud, persistent voices that seem to be giving consistent bad and uninformed and egotistical response. None more so than our current president. Donald Trump, I don't want to lead this off on the wrong foot. I don't want you switching off simply because I'm going to start talking about not politics, but about a person. And I don't want you to get the wrong idea in either direction, so hear me out before you judge the words that I'm going to say. The man is a bully. The man is a narcissistic, ego-puffed bully. Someone who has no empathy, who has no signs of human compassion. Everything he does, everything that he's a part of has to be the best, has to be the highest, has to be the most beautiful. He lacks the words to even fully describe the things that he's promoting. And I didn't say the things that he's feeling, I'm saying the things that he's promoting. Penn Jillette, in his talks and the things he says, uses the term, those of us who voted for Donald Trump. And I think that's a very healthy way of looking at it. He did not vote for Donald Trump. I did not vote for Donald Trump. But I can use the phrase, those of us who voted for Donald Trump, as a way of being inclusive. Because once you make a stance of us against them, you've declared a kind of war. You have thrown down a gauntlet for battle. And the last thing the world needs at this particular time and place is another battle, is another war. In the 21st century, one would have imagined and one would have hoped, especially with all the technological advances we have made and forwarded and stepped into, that it would be possible to bite back on the emotionally charged system of entitlement or feeling of entitlement, or I am better than you, or we are better than you, or our ideas are correct. Can we not? Have we lost the ability to actually speak and talk and debate with each other, spirited and passionately, without becoming insulting or punching down or hurting other people with the words that we say? Can we not? Can we not fight an idea rather than each other? Can we not see the helplessness of a child in a cage and have compassion and empathy without turning up our noses and saying, well, it's their parents' fault that they got there. So what if it was? So what if it was? It's a child in a cage. It is people suffering because information was not understood quickly enough, because motions were not put in place quickly enough, that because of ego, things were put aside that could have been done so much earlier, except for the fact that it became political and someone decided they had to save some face. I am not going to attribute evil to Donald Trump. He does some bad things. He makes bad decisions. He lies in front of millions of people and then denies the lie that he says with his very next breath. He is a harsh man. He is a thoughtless man. And in working through all of those feelings and all of those things that popped into my head, and all the rage that he induced in me because of the callousness of his very words, I took a step back and I breathed and I looked at myself and saw myself capable of the same kind of unthoughtful behavior. If I did not have the gifts that I have. I've noticed that in the past, heads of state, presidents, kings and queens and regents and so on, have given tribute or given time and energy towards art. Former presidents have had plays, have had musicals. Lin-Manuel Miranda sang the beginning of Hamilton at a place in the White House for the former president. Bands and poets and painters and artists of all kinds from all around the world have been welcomed in administrations and as part of the government and as part of the heritage of different countries and different places. Unless I'm just missing something, unless I just am blind to what I'm seeing, this particular president has none of those things going on. He does not seem to enjoy arts. He is on the record as saying he does not read. He does not read for pleasure. He does not read for information. He doesn't. He'll brag about the great schools that he went to, but he doesn't show that he's learned anything. Especially not when it comes to the arts. And I got to tell you, and say what you want about this statement, but if you don't have art, if you don't have art in your life, you don't have love in your life. Love is not being expressed to you. And I look and I see this man and I look at how miserable he always seems to be. He never really seems to take joy in anything other than putting other people down. And that makes me intensely sad for him. Look at this wretched, angry, bullying, ego-driven human being who deserves love, who deserves to have had a life of love that he never got. And because he never got that outpouring of love, because maybe no one ever made him something from their own heart and said, this I made for you, and this is who I am, and let me see who you are. And instead, he sought attention from outside of that. He sought, and these are all my opinions. I do card tricks for a living. Please don't take them as gospel anything. I'm simply telling you, it does not look to me like he has ever experienced true love expressed to him. So he sought the comforts instead in material things and in money and in power. And he achieved the highest possible power you could have on the planet. One of them, anyway. There are others, I suppose, but he has placed himself and worked himself into a place of power, and he doesn't even seem to take any pleasure from that. Once he got it, it's like, okay, now what? Now all I can do is punch down. And so he continues to punch down. I wouldn't want to be him. I would not want to be in those shoes. I would not want to have that kind of legacy behind me. I would not want to be where he is and look back on my life and say, boy, I made some money. I enjoyed the company of some women. I had people bowing and scraping to me, but I had no joy. I had no love. I have fame, but I have no art. I have no hearts weeping for me. He'll never hear this. He'll never hear these words. But if I could say, given the opportunity, and having stepped back from my rage, and having stepped back from the sheer audacity of feelings that I welled up inside myself because of the things he is doing, if I had a moment of sober attention, I would tell him, I'm sorry you weren't loved. I'm sorry you didn't get to feel that kind of true empathy and protection, and I'm sorry that art doesn't speak to you. I weep for the condition that you were in, and if there was anything in my power to change you, I would do that, because I don't like to see misery in anyone. So yeah, condemn the actions. Condemn the thoughtlessness and the ego and the narcissism and all the horrible tainted words that come out of his mouth. But as a human being yourself, as a soul in search of love, don't forget he is a human being, or that maybe he once was. Inside that shell, inside that empty seeming outward appearance, he was born a human, and as such was entitled, was worthy of love, empathy, kindness, and art. I'm sorry that he didn't get it. I'm sorry for him, and I'm sorry for all of us that he didn't get it. I sincerely hope that there's love where you are.
I may not know exactly where this road is taking me, but I know that I'm exactly right where I'm supposed to be. The journey is long, full of joy and pain, but as long as you're smiling, I'll stand in the rain. I've got nothing left to give other than love. But the funny thing about that is, love is everything. I hope there is love where you are. I hope there is love where you are. I may be a liar full of tricks, but if you'd open up your eyes, you would see nothing but the truth behind all of my lies. I broke every rule, and I bore every boulder, is love where you are. I hope there is love where you are. I hope there is love where you are. I hope there is love where you are. Anyone can wave a wand and make all their heartache disappear and call it art. But without heart, you've got nothing but illusion. Anyone can wave a wand and make all their heartache disappear and call it art. But without heart, you've got nothing but illusion. I hope there is love where you are. I hope there is love where you are. I hope there is love where you are. I hope there is love where you are, my friend.
I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Bye.